Do we have any questions for Steve? Thank you, sir. At this time, I'll open a public hearing. Is the applicant present and would you like to speak? Please come forward, state your name and address. Do you have a sign-in sheet down there, Carla?
I do not.
I did not fill one of those out, but I can if I need to.
Oh, you're on there.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Todd Winters. Appreciate seeing you guys again. I'm with Engineering Concepts, 201 Winco Circle in Wiley, Texas. I know you guys have seen this before. I wanted to just kind of give you an overview of what we're doing. Obviously, this agenda item is only requesting the zoning change.
Can you speak louder, please?
Sure. So this item is only requesting the zoning change from Ag to SF2. As you know, SF2 are the 9,000 square foot lots. These lots are going to be about, the minimum width of these are 62 foot wide. We have some that are much wider than that because we do have a 6 foot side yard setback and we're going to have a 50 foot building pad. So these houses will be a step up. It's a bigger product that you normally see. So I think that's important to note here that these are the bigger lots, are not SF, the smaller ones, the 50 foot lots. So they are bigger. We are going to build this thoroughfare, as Steve mentioned. This north is to the right on this drawing, so it is a north-south thoroughfare that will continue down to Bethel. It parallels those large overhead power lines, if you kind of know where this area is. So I think the next item is the preliminary plat, where we would talk about the actual connection points. I know that's going to be a big issue. Part of the reasoning is that connection is there for life safety issues, for second point of access, for looping the water line, for police and fire, and all the other things that need to get in and out of there. So I'm sure we can talk about that more later, but I did want you to know that the investment here is big because there is a lot of infrastructure to build here. We'll have curb and gutter streets and sanitary sewer, just like all the other subdivisions that these guys have built here over the past 15 to 20 years that they've been here. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any specific questions or big questions or whatever you have.
Any questions for the applicant?
I've always got a question, Ms. Brown. Mr. Winters, when you were looking at this plat, and I'm hoping we can all walk out here with smiles tonight, I really do that, from the bottom of my heart. When y'all were putting this together, I have trouble here because if we don't get B passed, C is going to be irrelevant tonight, the way I see it. If we don't get this rezoned, C is irrelevant.
That's correct.
So I apologize for maybe blending this question a little bit.
Sure.
When y'all sat down and started the preliminary plats, were there other options that you seriously considered besides just the one that we're seeing right now?
So let's talk about that. So what are our options? I mean, we basically only have a limited frontage on 1570. That is our only point of access, technically. We don't have enough frontage to have a second point up there because the text dot standards and speed limits, you have to have a certain separation. So now, when Roy Warren goes all the way to Bethel, we would have a second point of access. But in the interim, until that's done, and to talk about phasing and timing of this, that's probably an important thing to talk about here. Normally, we would come in here and build 50 lots in phase one, just for a round number. We're not going to build 227 lots in the first phase. So we are in the end part of 2022. If we were to get the zoning approved now, get the preliminary plat approved now, start the engineering, get that approved in the first quarter, start construction sometime in 23. It takes a year to build these things because we have to build a lift station, some off-site force main. We have it takes a while to build these things. So we're talking about finishing this in 2024 and then start building houses. So we're talking about having finished houses in 2025. So I just want to put that in perspective. So, but if we only go in here and build 50 or less than 100 homes in phase one, which with the way the economy is and the demand is slowing down, we're not going to go out and put a huge amount of lots on the ground. We need a second point of access in phase one. That's the thinking behind this, because Bethel will not be built all the way out in phase one. I mean, it's obviously several $1 million to build a 4-lane road I want to say that's probably 3,000 or 4,000 feet. I should know the answer to that, but I don't. But I know it's a huge investment. And obviously, if you put 50 lots on the ground, you can't afford to build millions of dollars worth of the street just to have that second point of access. So the second point of access is important in the phasing of this. Now, the existing subdivision does not have 2 points of access, but the new rules are the fire marshal and everyone, we would have to have a second point of access, and that's what that provides.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Sure. And if I could just to answer your question, we are open to other options. We're not here saying that we have to connect here, this is our only plan. We are open to not connecting to that. We just, from what our conversations have been with staff and looping the water lines and things of that nature, that's where we are here. But we're definitely open to other options. So,
I hope I can ask one more question. I'll just ask you point blank.
sure.
And again, Mr. Ray, shut me off if this shouldn't be asked. 2 phases. Number one, is this what you're looking at right now? Can it be modified?
Yes. I mean, we could not connect to that street. If the city were to allow that, I mean, it would be a fire safety issue that would have to be addressed somehow.
But your company would not have, Altura would not have any problems
Not at all.
Connecting.
No, sir. We do not have a problem not connecting there.
You'll smile on the Hank Murphy gets your pictures out here.
Okay.
That statement there, would you repeat that again for me?
We do not have an issue with not connecting that street. If the powers that be of the city are okay with that, and if that's what is decided. But there are issues, obviously, with a second point of access and other items that would have to be resolved. So, fair enough. Okay.
Thank you. At this time, we will open it up. If you filled out a comment card, please turn it in.
Ma'am, if I may, and I know it's a bit irregular, I'm Craig Plaque, and Dave Renshaw and I basically represent most property.
Are you starting our time?
No.
You need to move up to the mic so that people can hear.
No, I don't want to start the time. What I want to say is we talked to the folks here, and we're happy for David and I to present the argument so that we don't have to, we've already had an hour of executive session. I know y'all are tired. I certainly am. I'm sure all these folks are who've been sitting here. They're not professional speakers, nor do they really want to or think that they can encompass a statement in 3 minutes. If the commission would be willing, I think everyone is willing to defer to Mr. Renshaw and I to make our presentations to you rather than tying everyone up for another hour and a half at 3 minute increments so that maybe we can...
I'll just go ahead and stop you. That's not going to happen. Everybody gets 3 minutes. That's not part of the rules. We don't aggregate time. We're not going to have you stand up here for an hour and talk.
Well, we're not going to stand up here for an hour, but under Robert's Rules of Order and the Texas Open Meetings Act, I think they're entitled to turn their time over to us.
I don't think so. We're going to give it 3 minutes.
I don't think you get to rule. I think the commission has the authority. You're just the city attorney. The judge is sitting up there. And so right now, the decision is, do these folks want to take on all these taxpayers who've been sitting here wasting their time while Mr. Methvin briefs you on what he wants? Because obviously the city does not want this case presented. And they're trying to hide the ball. And I can tell you right now, they have refused to talk to us for 5 months.
I've talked to you multiple times, Greg.
August 2nd.
Okay, gentlemen.
No, we have to stop. That has to stop.
We're here for 3 minutes. We're going to say 3 minutes.
Madam Chairman, could I make a statement
And
or
the
ask a
people
question?
get their 3 minutes.
Could I ask a question? Precedent was set back when we considered the comprehensive plan a few months ago And that night, a lady named Deidre Mead, who was on all of our the planning committees for the comprehensive plan, I did ask her to suspend the rules because she had pertinent information that we needed to hear that night. And we did suspend the rules for Deidre, and she ended up with 2 3-minute sections to present what she had. So there is precedent that we have broken the 3-minute rule. Thank you.
We're gonna do 3 minutes. And whoever's filled out a card that wants to speak can speak.
First, I have Randy Tarpley.
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Tarpley. I reside at 708 Sahara Drive in Greenville. Madam Chairperson Brown, members of the Commission, city staff. I'm honored to represent the landowners in this matter. I'd like to introduce those that are present. Cynthia Hayter Green and Kevin Green. If you would, please. Thank you. Ms. Green is the daughter of longtime Greenville attorney Don Hayter. Her family was the original owner of the majority of this land that stretches from Jack Finney Boulevard to Bethel Road. Dana Darby is here. Dana, thank you. Her father, Danny Darby, was a very successful realtor and home builder and the developer of much of this area of Greenville. The third owner is Carrie Bowman. Carrie is the son of Linton and Rusty Bowman, whose family had a history of law and banking in Greenville that goes back more than 100 years. As a point of reference, this tract of land at question today is the result of more than 50 years of continuous development along FM 1570 that includes the development in stages from east to west of Oak Creek Estates, Wildwood Estates, Villa des Oaks, Park Forest Addition, the Westminster Estates, and Hunter's Run, as well as the Meadows Addition, which is currently being expanded by the Ellis Estates development across FM 1570 from this property. Each of these additions was developed and then expanded in new additions as land was available and market demands warranted it. This is exactly what Altura Homes is presenting today. A continuation by the heirs of this property as a residential subdivision as market demands are warranting, just as their parents did for many years. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you regarding this zoning request, and thank you first of all for your service to our community. We do ask that you approve this zoning request. And if you have any questions regarding the ownership, I'll be glad to take them. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Timothy Dooley.
Hi, my name's Tim Dooley. I live at 9809 Hunters Run in Greenville, Texas. Thank you for letting me speak. We really don't have concerns about the development of the land. What we have concerns about in our neighborhood is tying it into that many cars. If y'all have been in the neighborhood, the roads are horrendous. They haven't been repaved. I don't know when. It empties out onto Old Mill, which is 23 feet wide. Barely enough room for 2 cars to get by. All of a sudden, even with only 50 homes, you're talking about an extra 100 cars. And when there's a jam trying to get out on 1570, they're going to be coming through our neighborhood. We have more than probably a dozen small children that ride their bikes in the street. We have people who walk the neighborhood constantly all day long. It's a very quiet, secluded area. And to open it up to that many cars, that many people, is just not, it's a safety issue. And if nothing else, please do a traffic study. Find out how many cars are coming down, what kind of extra burden that's going to put on not just our roads and streets, but the people that are living in the neighborhood. So, please, we ask you, not to approve it as it is written. Simply don't let them tie into our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Howard Winans.
Thank you. My name's Howard Winans. I live at 1307 Steeplechase, which is on the opposite end of Cunningham, which runs across the north end of the subdivision. And we, for my family, don't have any problem with developing the property. We don't have any problem with that. Our problem is tying in to Hunter's Run addition with that street, because believe me, that Old Mill Road is an absolute racetrack. It's servicing thousands of people, well, not thousands, but hundreds of homes down Old Mill Road that come up there. And it's just big as heck. Not to mention there's almost one car bridge that's right around the corner, which is a traffic hazard at best. And so what we're trying to get is not open up that addition to that additional traffic, because this, like I say, we don't have any sidewalks. Everybody walks in the street, the dogs, everything, and that's it. And it's a closed neighborhood. And dumping traffic in there will be really bad. Matter of fact, it will, in my opinion, it'll devalue some of the property out there as far as having all that traffic through there. That's the only complaint we have. And I appreciate you letting me talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Renshaw.
My name is David Renshaw, and we have 3 children. My wife and I live on Belmont Place, and we've lived in Hunter's Run for 20 years, and it's the only neighborhood we want to live in Greenville, because it is a closed neighborhood, which means safety for my family, for my property, and peace and quiet in living. I've handed out a packet. If you'll look at the first 3 pages, that's the current conditions of my street. And when you open up Cheltenham, there's going to be more cars coming through our neighborhood. And unlike this nice development that's going in, which we have no problem with the development, we have a problem with opening up Cheltenham. They have sidewalks. Their kids can ride bikes on and walk on them. We don't. There's an easy fix. If you'll look at the next plat, which you've already seen, there's 3 lots circled in red. Those 3 lots were turned 90 degrees. Problem solved. Access denied. And I think you have a couple of people here, Mr. Winters and Mr. Webb, could tell you that those lots can be turned. Altura doesn't lose a single lot. And because that little section now is a closed section, it'd actually be worth more money and make the developer more money. So that's kind of a win-win. All these people here are happy, and the developer is happy. Now, the city is telling everybody that this isn't going to affect traffic through our neighborhood, but they haven't shown us any traffic study. And when I say the city, I mean the mayor. And the next page has his Facebook post, which states that the traffic from Forest Ridge will all use Roy Warren. And I quote, "The only reason anyone from the new neighborhood would use Cheltenham is to visit someone in that neighborhood." Well, if that's the case, then you really don't need the access, do you? Now, you can all say, hey, we need 2 points of access for safety. Well, I've lived where I live for 20 plus years. I only have 1 point of access. Never once has fire or police not been able to get to me. And you could grant a variance because we just heard that there's going to be an extension of Roy Warren all the way to Bethel at some point. So you could grant a variance and say we don't need 2 points right now. Now, you don't have to do a thumbs up or thumbs down. I don't know what you've been told, but if you will look at the next couple of pages, this is what the city's supposed to do. And your rules say that you can approve it with corrections, additions, or conditions added. And that's on page 140 of the planning and zoning put out by the city of Greenville. Look at that. You can say, yeah, we'll approve it if you turn those 3 lots. And that's what we're asking you to do.
Craig Black.
Well, you heard Mr. Winters. He said very specifically that Altura has no problem with closing the access to Cheltenham. They have no problem with turning lots 16, 17, and 18, pivoting them so that they face toward the west, which would close the road and would solve the problem. Now, I can give you a long talk, but I don't have the time. I could give you a long talk about the difference between single family 1 and single family 2. The lots in Hunter's Run are basically single family 1. The only ones that are not single family 1 size are the ones in the island that has the alleyway. And they took enough space out of the alleyway that the city later was willing to accept as a dedication so that those lots drop below 12,000 square feet. So just so you're clear, 90+% of the lots in Hunter's Run are single family 1 size, bigger than 12,000 square feet, with the houses turned lengthwise on long lots. The lots in the new housing addition are going to be rectangles, narrow end at the front. It'll be a different look. We can turn those 3 lots and solve the problem. We've been told for the last 5 months that it was Altura that had a problem with correcting this problem. It's not Altura. It's the city. The city wants it. I don't know why. But it's not going to change anything from what already exists. And what do we know already exists? What exists already is that Hunter's Run for 40 years has had one means of ingress and egress. That's what makes it special. Folks, until this all started, that's where the mayor walked his dogs nearly every day. We don't see him anymore because he withdrew.
That's absolutely untrue. I'm the mayor, and that is absolutely a lie.
Is it?
All right, no.
Yeah.
No.
Let's go. Come on.
No, Craig.
No, come on.
You can talk to them.
Well, you tell him he can talk to them.
I just stopped it.
Did you?
Go ahead and talk.
Hello. You're talking to us. Please, let's stay.
Yeah, let's stay on target.
Target.
This is the words of the mayor that he sent last week on Facebook. All traffic, the effect of traffic resulting from this development, which includes a 4-lane extension of Roy Warren Expressway from FDM 1570 to Bethel Road. Well, obviously that isn't happening, is it, folks? Even though that's what the mayor represented last week when he sent this message to Mr. O'Connor. It isn't happening in phase 1. What if they go belly up, 10 houses in, and then we have a street opened up with no houses on it? Then the mayor went on to say, traffic originating from the new development will ingress and egress via the new extension and not, as you suggest, through the existing neighborhood to Old Mill Road. In fact, traffic will be reduced in the neighborhood. Well, folks, if you believe that, then why do we need to open up the road? If the traffic in Hunter's Run is going to be reduced, as the mayor says, then I don't see any need for us to have this opened up. The neighborhood wants this closed. These are people who live here now, not people who are moving here later. These are your citizens. These are the people who pay the taxes. These are the people that these elected officials should be representing. And I will tell you, we have endeavored for 5 months to talk to the city.
Time.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Henry Black, 1306 Cheltenham, and I'm just here to say that we're against the proposed FF2. We prefer FF1, which is more related to what we got in Hunter's Run. The main thing we wanted to talk about was, and everyone's already covered it, is the access to Cheltenham on to this addition in Steeplechase. Our neighborhood, as Tim said a while ago, is unique in that we have one way in, Westminster, and one way out, Westminster. And we got an oval, the building's on oval. And our people live there are just also unique in that it's one of those, oh gosh, Mr. Rogers neighborhoods. Y'all remember Mr. Rogers? Well, that's what we got. We got a spectrum of people that live there, young people with babies that they can walk at Oval, pushing that cart and feel very safe. Older people can get out on that street and walk and be very safe. And it's much like Mr. Rogers saying, it's, I get up and go out and get the paper in the morning and people are walking around and it's comfortable to see everyone walking around that oval, not worrying about traffic, not worrying about anything, just having a good time. It's near like hearing birds sing. You hear them laughing and talking and communicating one with the other. It's just really, you just can't believe what kind of neighborhood it is. We put, if they ask me to open Cheltenham, which we don't want, nobody in that neighborhood wants Cheltenham open, or Steeplechase. And the safety comes right in. They talked about someone a year ago, and I can't call the name, don't have that good a memory. But they talked about safety and police, this is good to have all these getting in and getting out. I think as Tim said, we've been there 26 years. There's never been any problem with police getting in or anybody getting in there and out, ever. And so we're against Cheltenham being open to that, any traffic coming from the development through Cheltenham or Steeplechase to go through Hunter's Run. There's a safety issue there because of the roundabout traffic they have to go through, and you got islands. And the people have been there,
Thank you,
like
sir.
I said. Thank you. I didn't know I was in talking that long. Appreciate you.
Mary Black.
She adopts his statement.
Ditto.
She lives close to me.
Nick Funk.
I'm Nick Funk, 9805 Hunter's Run, and I speak in opposition to the current plan for the Forest Ridge Estates. There are many reasons for the opposition, and I'm going to center on one: quality of life. You've probably heard this already. Hunter's Run is a one-way in, one-way out cul-de-sac and has been so for 40 years. This has created an expectation among the residents. The loop of Hunter's Run, Cheltenham, Belmont, and Steeplechase has become a known walking loop that's quiet, safe, shaded. It's one of the few like that in our area. People walk the streets. Sidewalks are unnecessary because of that minimal traffic. People know each other, greet each other, look out for one another. Examples might include the wine and cheese conversations that was aptly called the Ladies of the Loop, who formed during COVID, where they would get together and talk, physically distance from each other, and share. Children learn to ride their bicycles in the street and occasionally play ball in the street. When I first moved to Greenville, I told friends that I'd moved to Mayberry. And at our annual Oktoberfest Constitution Day neighborhood party, one of the recent neighbors said that they had never lived in a neighborhood that was so connected to each other and friendly. They know more neighbors now than they knew in their previous place. I regularly work with our police department here, and when one of the officers found out where I lived, he said, "Nothing happens there." And I said, "And we like it that way." Connecting the roads of the Forest Ridge Estates development would change all of that. No longer would we have a cul-de-sac, it would be a throughway. No longer would people safely walk down the street. No longer would we know the people that are passing by our homes. No longer would children safely ride their bicycles and play in front of their yards and streets. With increased ability to enter and exit, crime might just escalate. Property values likely diminish. If the current plan goes forward, some have already voiced intention of leaving the area and the city they've grown to love. I ask that the throughway from Forest Green Estates development be permanently abandoned. Those that are impacted the most should be considered the most. And this neighborhood is the one that's impacted the most, and you've already heard and will hear widespread opposition to this. Thank you so much. Yeah, I did it under 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Laura Funk. I live at 9805 Hunters Run. So I'm opposed to this. This Forest Run planned development of 227 9,000 square foot lots plus a 4-lane thoroughfare will holistically and negatively alter our Old Mill Hunters Run neighborhood. The cars and trucks of the residents, the significant number of deliveries, the 227 homes going through our of the homes going through our quiet neighborhood will impact our quality of life in this area that we've chosen to make our largest investment in. Where we live, build community, and raise our families. Many of the original home builders still occupy these homes. They developed this area out of a post-oak forest because of its seclusion, relative quiet, and beauty. They've helped build Greenville. They feel slighted. They've told me so directly. When we who live here look at the area under consideration for development, its old rusty cattle fence, its barbed wire, the Texas Cattlemen Association sign, we see a little slice of true Texas. The wildlife we encounter in the green space at the end of our secluded neighborhood is one of the many reasons we chose to live there. Children learning to bicycle, young moms with strollers, kids walking their dogs, friends walking older friends, neighbors connecting with others in the morning, midday, and evening walks and bike rides. This is all part of our community. We watch one another's homes, and when we see unusual activity or unfamiliar cars, we let each other know. It's not just the Hunters Run loop that's opposed to this. Westminster, Trafalgar, Tanglewood, there's 390 homes in this immediate area, and nearly all of them are on lots over the size of the SF2, which is 0.2066 acres. We've canvassed the entire neighborhood. We've submitted hundreds of opposition signatures on canvases since April. We've opposed it, and a lot of the neighborhoods around oppose it. We were surprised that the 4-lane highway was part of this plan. It seemed to come out of nowhere. I'll talk more about that on my next coming up here. Anyway, I just want to say that, the city government exists to serve the citizens, not outside corporations or bureaucrats. The city has ignored the repeated letters and petitions from hundreds of citizens for 6 months now to stop this development and road program. And they refuse to talk with us, and we just feel like we're not being heard. So hopefully you'll hear us now. Thanks.
Alice Johnston. Alice Johnston.
She had to go take care of one of the neighbors in the neighborhood's dog that's gone this week, Rich Carter and his wife. She didn't realize we'd be so late.
Max Crowley.
Good evening, I'm Max Crowley, 1106 Joanne Circle. So, once I saw this plat and saw how it was going to be running through Chetholm Street, I was like, okay, What about Old Mill Road? That road is atrocious. And I cannot believe the city cannot do something about that road. That road is an accident waiting to happen. I've nearly been hit 3 times on that little bridge on my motorcycle. 3 times with people not paying attention around that curve. And now you want to add people going through that road down Old Mill. It's an accident waiting to happen. Thank you.
William Broughton.
Hello, my name is Bill Broughton, William Broughton, 9811 Hunters Run. So in order to maximize my time, I'm not going to reiterate what everybody else has said because I concur with everything. But what I do want to tell you is that the reason why I moved to Hunters Run is because of everything that you've heard. Right? That's exactly why me and my family moved out there. I actually physically went to the neighborhoods on behalf of Laura and the other community members and took the petitions. And I will tell you, as a fact, out of everyone that I contacted on all the neighborhoods and other streets, only 2 people disagreed. I should restate that. Only 2 people will not sign a petition. One of them is because they're sitting on that panel. And the second one is because they didn't feel it had enough facts. Everyone else signed the petition because nobody wants that traffic in any part of our neighborhoods. The second thing I want to say is, be careful about the conjecture about people's opinions on what people will or will not or may not use those streets after they're built, because it's all conjecture. No one knows for sure. But I will tell you that, as a fact, everyone in my neighborhood, the Hunters Run, we don't want it because we're not going to use it. And it creates all the safety seat for everything I've already said. So don't assume it's a good thing for the community that's presently there. It is not, and we don't want it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Janet Jordan. I live at 9807 Hunters Run. We have lived there, my husband Bill and I, for 22 years. We love the neighborhood. I was born in Greenville. I'm a long-term resident here. And we've watched our neighborhood change, but it has changed for the better because everyone is very close. We all get along well. We watch out for each other. And something that hasn't been mentioned, the Hunters Run street does not have storm drains. We have it run down the gutter. And all the way it runs down the gutter till it gets to Westminster, and then it runs down the gutter till it gets in that little drainage ditch on Old Mill Road, where it runs down some more drainage ditch. So we have an issue with that. What will the drainage do in that area? Will we end up finding out we have water issues after all this is done? Plus, we do not have great water pressure in our area. Sometimes we turn on our water and it's very, very not much pressure. So I really will hope that you will take all this into consideration and know that we don't mind other people moving to Greenville. That's not it. But we have invested in our homes. We have worked hard. Some of us don't come from large salaries. We've worked very hard to attain the homes we have. And we really never considered anything about moving. This is our place we want to live till we are called to our heavenly home. So please take that into consideration and remember we're the citizens here, and we would like to have our people represented by all of you. Look into your hearts, please, and think about how you would feel if this was your neighborhood. We just thank you so much, and you have a good evening. Thank you for the time.
Good evening. I'm Bill Jordan, 9807 Hunters Run. Been there, like my wife said, for 22 years. There's a lot of issues with what everybody has been saying. The tying in is what we have the issue with. Developing, we know is going to happen in Greenville. I've lived here all my life. I'm 76 years old, or will be next month. I love Greenville. I love the Hunters Run. And the issues about the water thing she said is another problem. Our backyard floods all the time. I contacted the city 20 years ago. Oh, give us time, we'll take care of it. Well, I think 20 years is more than enough time. And it still floods. I've took pictures with it flooding up on the electrical boxes out there. I've got them in my pocket right now. I can show them to you how bad it is. But I know that's another issue. But anyway, the whole thing is we cannot connect to this neighborhood. I walk during the night. I see people walk all the time. During the night, during the day, early morning or early evening. And it's both lone young children, older adults. I'm considered one of those, I guess, at my age. But there's people older than me that still walk with assistance with the younger people, or their parents, or their kids. Somebody's walking all the time. And this would be a disastrous to our area. And I think you would take that into consideration. Like I say, if you've never been in that neighborhood, you ought to come and see it sometimes. Some of you probably never even stepped foot in our neighborhood, to be honest with you. And you live close enough, I know you've been in it. But I thank you for your time, and take that into consideration, please. Thank you.
Ron Rogers.
I'm Ron Rogers. I live at 1109 Whitehall Lane, and I own a home at 9805 Belmont Place in Hunters Run. And first of all, I want to thank Randy Tarpley for introducing the folks that he introduced tonight, the members of the Hayter family, the Bowmans, and the Darbys. I did not fully understand the history of my neighborhood, and I want to thank them for doing what you've done to create such a wonderful neighborhood. I want to make clear, I do not oppose Altura. I do not oppose the construction of new homes. I do not oppose smart growth. But are you catching a trend from what the folks are saying? Do not open up Cheltenham Lane. The two attorneys, Mr. Black and Mr. Renshaw, in their brief 3 minutes that they had, they pointed out some solutions to these problems. Altura is willing to work with the city to solve these problems. And I understand you are merely an advisory committee, and you're going to advise the council on what to do next week, but you don't really have the authority to stop this project. What I'm asking you to do tonight is send a message to the council. I would like to see a 9-0 vote against the plat that has been proposed. This can be solved. This neighborhood is truly special. It really, just like these other folks have said, this is a very emotional issue for so many of us. And this development, as proposed, will not only harm the house of the street where my house in Hunters Run is, but I'm just a couple of blocks away on Whitehall. And I've been, in the last week, as I've had time and as weather permitted, I went door to door. I got 31 comment forms that I turned in to Steve tonight. And I would have gotten a lot more if people had been home. Every single person that I spoke to on Trafalgar, Churchill, Whitehall, Westminster. I had a lady contact me from Timberside Drive, a lady from Rancho Cucamonga, California. She said, please stop this. We love Texas, but we don't want California. So just do the right thing. Send a message tonight And let's vote this down, and let's make the city council and the city work with Altura to solve this problem and help all of us. Thank you.
Bob Trad, 10800 Hunters Run Street. I moved into, or my wife and I, family moved into our house on August the 29th, 1998. Been there since then. It's the quietest neighborhood in the city of Greenville, as far as I know. The street, Hunters Run is okay. Cheltenham, Belmont, and what's the other street? Steeplechase. It's pretty atrocious. They need to be repaired. They don't need an extra. Somebody said 50 cars a day. I think if they built 270 some odd houses, there would be probably 90 to 100 cars a day making 2 trips in and out. They wouldn't all go down Westminster. Edgewood Street that comes into the neighborhood is a country lane. Old Mill Road, the majority of it is a country lane, and it's narrow. The streets are narrow because they're country lanes. The neighborhood was built out there to be a sort of a haven from the city. I know Greenville is not a big city, but it's a haven. It's quiet. There's beautiful trees out there. And we just don't need excess traffic. I don't know why the state of Texas would not allow 2 entrances off of 1570. Somebody mentioned it earlier that there's something that the state won't allow it. I've got a feeling there could be a workaround on that. I don't know. Dealing with the state is probably a problem. But I would just like to say our neighborhood is quiet, it's peaceful, and everybody walks in the neighborhood, and it's a place that you want to be. Somebody said invited you out to come see the neighborhood. Come see it. Don't bring your cars out there when you come see it. But I just yield the rest of my time to the next speaker.
I'm Donata Wright, and I want to yield my time to Greg Plaque.
No, ma'am.
You're not allowing it.
You have, if you want to speak, you may speak, but we are not yielding time.
9808 Hunters Run. My husband and I and 2 children moved in about 22 years ago, and it is quiet, nice neighborhood. We moved there for the trees, and we just don't want this cut through. The kids, it's like everybody says, everybody walks, everybody knows each other, we look out for each other, and this would interrupt all of that. And we just don't want it. We don't care what the neighborhood does beyond us, but don't connect us. Thank you so much.
Terry Wright.
Hi, 9808 Hunters Run. We've been there about 22 years. It is extremely quiet. The streets are in bad shape. The kids do walk every day. Everybody, it's a perfect half mile. So everybody can log their time, do all of that. The traffic is bad enough as it is now, and that would open up a whole lot more traffic through there. You really need to drive through there and see how many kids are walking in that area. So I agree with what everybody else has said, and I oppose the thing. Thank you.
Tina Scrooge.
Would you call her one more time, please?
Tina L. Fruge, 1301 Steeplechase Lane.
I am Tina Fruge.
Fruge, okay, excuse me.
I didn't actually sign up to speak. I don't know
Oh, these were laid on my desk, so I was assuming you wanted to speak. Okay.
Those were the
Okay,
petitions.
okay.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, I will now close the public hearing and ask the commissioners for their opinions.
I've always got an opinion. Ms. Brown, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
I take this very seriously. I'm smiling tonight because I see people I love. Last night, and it's in my car right now, I'm just about to cry over the deal because y'all, I love y'all. I love this town. I've been torn a lot here lately. I wrote a letter of resignation from P&Z and from the Board of Substandard Structures. I intended to turn it in tonight at the meeting. Had a copy addressed to the mayor. Last night I didn't sleep very well. Woke up in the middle of the night, did a lot of praying. Great sure I do pray. I believe in it. In the school business, I dealt with people at odds all day long. My job was to referee, what more than a referee, try to reach an agreement between people. I decided this morning when I got up early, after a little bit of sleep, the letter I wasn't going to turn in tonight because of one reason. I've never run away from a fight in my life. I've been beat up a time or two, but I've never run away from a fight. Tonight, I heard answer to a prayer. We don't have opposing sides we're dealing with. Mr. Winters, when he got up here, I asked him were there other options. He didn't fight. He didn't argue. He said, of course I've got options. And he mentioned he had a way to do it, to solve all of this. I welcome, from the bottom of my heart, I welcome Altura Homes to Greenville, Texas. I think we all do. That's a great company. I've been in their homes in other cities. We're lucky to have a company of that stature coming in here to Greenville, Texas. I welcome it. There were concerns about the zoning originally, what number we were going to get, 1, 2, or 3. They compromised. We're looking at SF2 potentially right now. He's got the solution to it. He's not arguing about the cut-throughs. Y'all are not arguing about Altura not coming to Greenville. You welcome it. That's what I've heard repeatedly. If I'm wrong, tell me. The letter, I'm not turning in right now because I'm in a fight. I've got another way to say it. The town is going to grow. I'm all for that. I'm all for a great, and we're lucky to have Mr. Tarpley, the names you mentioned, like Don Hayter, the family. That was my grandmother's attorney. When she sold her house, when she sold the farm and all that, she went through Don Hayter. It's the only one that she trusted. At one time, my mom and dad had wills made out from Don Hayter. There's people very special. I would recognize the picture, but I remember my grandmom and my mom and dad talking. These are families that built Greenville. Randy, you built Greenville. Your family did. These other people in here, I've got friends. I've had my records, my personal phone, my email, open record request. I sent in one document, just a typical thing. It was from a friend of mine that lives out there in the neighborhood. The request on my open records had one of the attorney's names listed that I've known the family from the old Wesley Church since I was born. I can't think when I didn't know that family. It was from another ex-employee of the city asking us to make a political contribution to an out-of-state gubernatorial candidate. I mean, my life has been really, I carried 2 phones when I worked for the school district. I carried a personal phone, I carried a school phone. I had a school computer. I had my home computer. When I first got the call, I filled out a form, said I'd be willing to serve after I got off the council. When I got the call to come up here and be on these commissions and boards, I was happy because I'm a retired teacher. My income's fixed. Hadn't changed since 2017 when I retired. I was looking forward to it. I don't have an iPad. I was looking forward to having an iPad. I got eye problems at night. It's easy to try to look at the phone. I came up here to get my iPad, and they said, you don't get one. The open records training I had was in 2013 when I got on the council. I was told I didn't need to do open records training. And then I get open records request, not just from a citizen, but from the rumor that I'm hearing, I think it's pretty good information, from one of the city council members. Wants my personal information. So now they know what political party I'm with right there if it doesn't get redacted, and all these things happening. I'm up here sitting back in my school office. I've got 2 kids that thought they had a fight with each other, and in the night, here's one of the parties, they're happy. Y'all are happy. Nobody hates Altura. We welcome them. I'll meet them out here at the Greenville sign and welcome them in here. I went so far the other day, I went and talked to a real estate agent about selling my house and getting the you-know-what out of here. I had it with lately what's been happening on a lot of things. If I'm preaching tonight, I don't have a license to. This is from my heart, the way I feel about it. We've got the answer right here tonight. We've got the answer. Both parties, they'll welcome it. Why in the world can we not, as a city, bring in this company? Bring them in. Welcome them. Y'all will be out there with me welcoming Altura and Mr. Winters to come to this town. And here we are arguing about it. And why? It's not them. It's not y'all. Narrow it down where the problem is, folks. Narrow it down. It's pretty dang simple. I may get fired from this position. I don't know if they'll fire me or not. If they do, I'll still be fighting for it. I don't quit. I'm not going to quit. I don't know what else to say right now. It tears me up right now because we've got a vote right now in just a minute. Again, our vote doesn't count. We were told that at another meeting a while back at another thing in open, not in executive session. We were told by a city employee our vote didn't count. You might as well vote with the city council. We were told that multiple times that evening. Multiple times. Tonight, my vote counts to me. It counts to Altura. Mr. Winters, I never met you, had a conversation in depth, never gone out to lunch with you, nothing else. I'd love to do that sometime because I'm proud to see y'all come to Greenville, Texas. I want them. I want this neighborhood protected. I've got people out there that I love. I've walked the neighborhood. And I know my time is probably just about up right now. Somebody's going to pull my plug here in a second. I am begging this city government to come together and bring these 2 people together, these 2 organizations, the neighborhood and Altura, to bring them together and let's solve this thing. That's where I am. As it stands right now, what's up here, I've got problems with. Some of y'all out there, you built this blooming town. And here we are. Here we are. What I've said tonight, I got one thing I've done all my life. I don't apologize. I may change my actions in the future, but apologies are cheap. I'm not apologizing for what I'm saying tonight. And I don't think I'll ever need to change my behavior on it either. This is where I am. And yeah, I've talked, I can tell you, a week before last, I went to a real estate agent in town. And what they told me, they said, sit tight, the market may change a little bit, it'd be more beneficial to wait a couple of more weeks on it. But that's how far I've gone as far as getting out of town. I want to stay here, it's my home. I've got parents buried here. But I've got one cousin's husband, the cousin's dead, she's buried, or was buried in Greenville. The cousin called to get permission from the family. He exhumed the body and they moved the casket to another town. He's dead now too. He knew he was ill. He said, we don't want to be buried in Greenville, Texas. That hurts me. How much more plain can it get to some people, our leaders, when you got people digging up relatives because they don't want them left in Greenville, Texas? That hurts me. Where was I last night? At the cemetery visiting my mom and dad's grave. I'm through.
Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion and a second, please.
And just to be clear on this, this is only for the zoning. And the majority of the issues related to the ingress and egress would be part of the plat approval. So what we're doing right now has nothing to do with connecting to the neighborhood. It only has to do with changing the zoning to SF2.
That's correct.
I make a motion to approve the change of zoning request to SF2.
I'll second. Go ahead.
No, you were first, I think.
Okay. We have a motion from Mr. Morris and a second from Dr. Jack. To approve?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Okay.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay.
Thank you. Motion carries 7-2. Okay. That takes us to item C, hold a public hearing to discuss and consider a request by Kevin Webb for approval of a preliminary plat, Forest Ridge Estates on property located at 1805 Jack Finney Boulevard, and take any action necessary.
Yes, ma'am. This is the actual plat. This is what we've been talking about for an hour or so now. This is where you can do something with it. If you'll see, it's a whole lot like the concept. It is 2 parts because it's a very big document. Said it was. What?
You make it bigger.
1570 is up higher.
You have your whole packet.
Find it?
You have your whole packet? I can pull it.
I have my whole packet, yes.
Yeah, I can pull it.
You go out there, you get bigger screens or smaller developments.
All right, here we go. So to the right of the screen, obviously it's 1570. The new Royal Warren Parkway will come in right here. And by the way, as we're building Royal Warren Parkway on the north side of 1570, we'll be cutting this out and it'll be a straighter shot across here. But basically, it's the same thing as you looked at a while ago, the concept.
Could you come and just kind of point it so we could kind of be sure we
He's moving
understand?
the mouse. I don't know if you can see it. He's moving the mouse around.
Oh, I didn't see
See
it.
where-
See how bad my eyes are?
Yeah,
Can't even
right
see
here,
the mouse.
right here's the
Oh, I see
Royal Warren
it
to the
now.
north.
Okay, I see
And then
it
the
now.
road comes through here
All
like
right.
this.
Okay, I see it now.
The intent is to, this is the rest of the subdivision. Monty Stratton's down here. I mean, Royal Warren Parkway. Property dead in there, and then the intent is to build it on down to Bethel Road. Yes, the plat does show a tie into Cheltenham. your options here are gonna be, a plat is a plat, it's a legal document taken in, we have so many days to act on it. That's where you're at now. The option here is to either approve it or deny it, one of the two, that's up to you guys. But if you agree with the project as you've seen it, then you would want to approve it. If you don't agree with it, then you would recommend denial of it. Plat's not something we can play with. If that's something you want to do, you can deny it. They can come back with a new concept for the plat. We can bring it back. That'll be up to you. That's not something we can change here by a preliminary plat. We would just have to submit another one and come back. Yes, sir.
Just two clarifications. Could you explain or reiterate why single access is no longer permitted?
That's fire code. That's in the fire code requires two accesses. We don't have, TXDOT doesn't allow, let me back up. TXDOT doesn't allow you to have entrances within 500 feet of each other. And that is probably the problem here. You can see there's only a small piece of it that ties in right here.
Okay, and then one other just clarification. Would there be, or will there be, a traffic survey between the preliminary plat and the final plat?
Yes, matter of fact, before the project could even start, even if you approve the preliminary plat tonight, approve the zoning and it goes to council, they do the same thing. Even at that point, they'll have to go through a set of civil drawings and the city would have to accept those. And yes, there will be a traffic study that has to be done. If there was an issue with that, then we would halt the project and make them file an amended plat to correct whatever we needed to correct. Preliminary plat does not mean, you can't build a house on a preliminary plat.
Yes.
The project would have to be completed, the streets built, all the infrastructure in, all those things would have to be done, and then I would bring a final plat back to you, and at that point, then they can begin construction.
Okay, one last question. As the gentleman first presented the project, just for a round number, let's say they begin with 50 houses. When does the second access have to come into play? At the initial starting point, or some?
That's a good question, and my assumption and what I thought we talked about was this was going to be a full-blown project, not a phased project. So usually what you see on a preliminary plat, it will show phases. Like this is first phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this is the second phase. I'm not seeing phases up here, so my understanding with them, this was going to be a full build.
Well, that's why I'm a little confused right now. It's kind of presented
right.
as blow and go, but now that it's maybe due to whatever,
I don't know what
it's going to be phased in. So when does the second second access point kick in, where it becomes mandatory?
Anytime. What we say is when you start building up. Once you start putting sticks on it, is the jargon we use. You have to have that for the fire department access. Yes.
Okay. All right. So they clear 20 lots. This access issue has to be scheduled at
when they start building on it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're gonna open a public hearing. What's up?
No, I was just wondering to myself.
Okay. All right. The chair would entertain a motion.
Well,
We
we
need
need
to have a public
to
hearing.
have
Yeah.
a public comment.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have
Oh.
public comment cards for that.
Again.
You can go on.
Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
I have public comment cards filled out. for
Oh,
you to sign.
okay.
Yeah, I love public comment on this, just like the other issues.
Oh, okay. I thought we did. Okay, go ahead.
No, that was on the zoning thing.
Randy Tarpley. Would you like to speak on this also, or you had checked it?
Randy Tarpley, 708 Sahara Drive. I really have no comments with respect to the engineering and the planning that was done. I would say that in light of what has been given to you tonight, that we would respectfully ask that you approve the plan as well. Thank you.
Timothy Dooley.
There are several members.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dooley did not sign up for this one. Let me
Okay,
get to
I'm sorry, there are several members of the commission that are needing a break, so we're going to allow them a 5-minute break.
Okay. Let me separate it.
We will now open it up for public comment.
You're not here.
Oh, it's I'm sorry. I apologize. So we're gonna now open it up for public comment.
Howard Winans.
Still 3 minutes, correct?
The public comment cards, did you want to speak again?
I already have no.
Okay, I think say most have checked both boxes, and I'm gonna just call their names and offer to let them speak. Okay.
Thank you.
David Renshaw.
Good evening again. If you'll look at page 140 on that handout, it's from the planning and zoning, the zoning ordinance in the city of Greenville. It says the commission may on its own motion defer its decision and recommendations until it has had an opportunity to consider other information or proposed modifications. It would seem to me that you would need a traffic study before you approve a plat. It would seem to me that if you turn this down and said, you know, we want to see other options, you might get 2 or 3 other plats to consider. And that's what needs to happen. This is fixable, just some people don't want to fix it. And one more thing, looking at your website, I've looked at lots of applications in the 30 years I've practiced law here and the 20 years I've lived here. Never seen one that y'all redacted all the contact information. That just seems really sketchy, folks. Shows you that the city knows what they're doing isn't right.
Folks, let's talk first about this fire code thing. You ever heard of a variance? They can grant a variance until the road is extended to Bethel. The mayor already assumes it's done in his message when he says it's going through to Bethel. So they can grant a variance on that fire code thing if they just would. They can fix this. The best thing to do here is either turn down this plat or pass on it until you get further information. A traffic study is necessary. It's absolutely required. Some more discussions with Altura about the solutions that we've discussed, which is turning these 3 lots to close Cheltenham. Then you don't have an issue. Let's table this issue until the plat can be revised and resubmitted closing Cheltenham. All the city has to do is grant the variance. They seem to be able to do everything else. They're talking about building a road all the way to Bethel on property that they don't own. And neither does Altura, and neither will Altura. Now, Mr. Tarp can get up here and run all his noble deeds, but he's working on closing a deal. And folks, let me tell you, this sale doesn't close until you approve this preliminary plat. So how's his commission? I'm not getting paid anything to be here. I'm here because my parents live in this neighborhood. We need to pass this or reject it, and let's look at other options. Let's have the variance. Let's look at a variance until that road is completed. I want to tell you, I think also, you know, Mr. Methvin said he doesn't know, and my father's been retired a long time, he's going to check on it. But he was the state engineer for Hunt and Rains County until he retired. And that 500 thing was new to him. Now, that may have changed. There's about 500 feet to have 2 entrances or exits from 1570. And again, a variance could be obtained for that. You know, we've tried to talk. The city has stonewalled us. When I tried to talk to the mayor, who I've known for a long time, even if he has called me a liar tonight, he said he didn't feel qualified to talk to me because he's not a lawyer. Well, the last time I checked, when he's telling people that all the traffic is not going to go through Cheltenham and Hunter's Run, he ain't a civil engineer either. He doesn't know what he's talking about other than he wants this done. Now, how many of you folks got calls from the mayor in the last week on this? You didn't get any calls from me. How many of you got lobbied by the mayor to approve this tonight? This is premature. I know there were calls made. Now, this can be addressed. It can be fixed. Altura is welcome here. They'll be great. We'll just close Cheltenham. And it's easy to do, folks. Oh, and the mayor wouldn't talk to me. My mother tried too. He wouldn't talk to her either. But when he finished his email, he said, I'll be happy to talk to you about it. So he's out there trying to persuade people.
Henry Plaque.
In other words, he's going to adopt what I said.
And Mary Black.
No. Same.
Nick Funk.
Nick Funk, 9805 Hunters Run, and I want to thank you, Mr. Evans, by what you were saying. I think you're dead on. We have a win-win here. The problem was not the SF2, it's the current plat. And so I would ask you to disapprove the current plat. Altura is willing to work, and we're willing to listen, and I'm kind of surprised we got this far without that conversation occurring, because we're willing to work with everyone. And why not do that? So please disapprove this one, and with the understanding, you can let them know, they're hearing it right now, that we're willing to look at other options. And let's see those other options. Thank you so much.
Laura Funk.
Laura Funk, 9805 Hunters Run. I just had a few things to because I had already written them. I oppose the joining of this big development to our neighborhoods. I know I speak for a whole lot of other people, so just a little something to say. This direct access to Hunters Run, Westminster, Trafalgar, and Old Mill Road by way of an entrance on Cheltenham, and we think steeplechase in the future will create easy access and escape routes for people who might not want to be, who might be doing bad things. Torch pirates, vandals, criminal activity, assaults on our cars, our persons, who knows? When you have a through road, things like that happen. So I also want to demand that the city complete it's on their application to have a traffic study, and it's optional, and it continues to not be asked to be done. So I don't know how you can plan a development with routes without actually studying the traffic. It makes no sense. I mean, you live in this neighborhood, and if there are cars parked on either side of the road, 2 cars cannot pass. Just right now. If the garbage truck is operating on Old Mill, forget it. It stops on both sides of the garbage truck until the garbage moves, and then you have to go around. There's just not enough room for all this kind of traffic on our roads. I kind of wonder about the traffic studies that have or have not occurred recently. You try to go down 15, 17 when kids are either being dropped off or picked up from school from Pioneer Academy and Lamar Elementary, and an entire lane of traffic is a waiting line for parents, and also the median lane. So I don't know what kind of traffic line or what kind of traffic study happened then. Maybe it didn't, I'm not sure. But I think the traffic is something that the city really needs to take a hard look at with all of this development going on. Of course, we know it's going, people are coming, but the roads need to come up to accommodate the amount of people. Also, when I poured over the previous versions of these plats, there were electrical plans and waterways, there were multiples, not just the roads and everything like that. And I don't have it with me, but I distinctly remember a phase 1, phase 2 in the building plan. of their own notes to themselves. So, and these were engineer drawings. So I really hope you can find a way to get a different access point. I totally agree with everything. I mean, the builder has said we are willing to, change the plan as long as we can go ahead with this. I mean, he was very clear and very positive. So, we don't want this to be something that becomes the new legacy of, oh, well, now we're just dealing with the fact that we have this thing that nobody wanted, at least none of us that already live here. So hopefully we can find a win-win and everybody can be happy. Thank you.
William Broughton. Janet Jordan.
I want to thank everyone for their time tonight, and I agree with you, James Evans, and I want you to know I appreciate what you just shared with us tonight, and you have our wholehearted support. We'd like for you to remain on this board. And I'd like to just mention too, Old Mill Road is a cut through, not just the houses, but people cut through on all the county roads very far back at the end and come racing down Old Mill Road. So we don't have the ability to support the traffic. We don't have a good drainage system. And Old Mill Road is, it's little. And it's got some pretty good ditches on either side. So if you all would just please consider all these things, and I just pray that you're given a really good insight in for people to put it in your hearts to do the right thing. Thank you.
Bill Jordan.
I think everything's pretty much been said. We do not want this plot approved the way it is. I don't care what other people are saying. They don't live there. They don't even know the road. But if you could just table it or reject it completely to where they can look at another source, another way. And this one entranceway is, we've had one entranceway since I've been there 22 years. So having only one way in, one way out does not look like an issue to me. But just at least table it, think about it, give us more options, and don't approve the plot the way it stands today. Thank you.
Ron Rogers.
Ron Rogers, 1109 Whitehall, 9805 Belmont. I want to give you a little different aspect of why, if you care about our neighborhood out here, out where we live, I want to give you a quote. Quote, I would like the citizens of Hunt County to know that we are seeing a rise in crime involving illegal drugs such as heroin, methamphetamine, and the latest killer, fentanyl. That is a quote from the May 11th Herald Banner, Greenville Herald Banner. Thank you for being here, Hank. He's doing a great job as our new editor. And that quote is from Hunt County Sheriff Terry Jones. If you Google Sheriff Terry Jones drugs, you'll get a list of Herald Banner articles documenting the drug, the drug busts that are being made in Hunt County by the sheriff and the great work they're doing. And if you will Google that, and you'll see this list from the Herald Banner of articles. Almost every one of those are in South Hunt County. South Hunt County connects to Greenville via Highway 34. Roy Warren Parkway is going to go from 1570 to Bethel Road. If Cheltenham is opened up, guess what? The criminals, if you're a drug addict, you've got to get more drugs. You've got to get money to buy those drugs. If you're addicted, you will steal. You will commit petty crimes. Our neighborhood will be less safe under the plan that I hope you will reject under this plat. It is going to give, Hunter's Run for all these years has been very low crime. And that is primarily because it's one way in and one way out. If you open Cheltenham, we're going to see a lot more petty crime, crimes of opportunity, porch pirates, etc. Because they can come in one way and they will have a new access to disappear into a 227 home development onto an expressway or a parkway, and they can get out, and it's going to create a lot of problems. This is just something else that, as somebody who walks the neighborhood, I can tell. I mean, I walk my 80-pound spoiled dog every day in this neighborhood. I can recognize cars that don't belong. Lonnie, you can too, because you walk. I see Lonnie walking every night. This is not a good plan. You've got to reject this. Let's work together and let's solve this without opening up Cheltenham. The only way you can do that, send a message to the city council by rejecting this plat tonight. Thank you.
Bob Tratt.
He's left also.
Donata Wright.
I believe that she's gone.
Both rights of love.
Okay, and Carrie Wright also.
Right.
Yep.
That's all I have. I have no more.
At this time, the chair would entertain a motion or open it up for commissioners for your comments, if you have comments.
I would like to make a couple of comments. Number one, I appreciate all of the input that we've had. I've studied that very carefully. For those of you who don't know and understand, I visit every site. I look it over, I'll walk it if I need to, and I understand the issues with your neighborhood and how you want them to be protected. Number two, I have lots of experience working with departments of transportation in previous development areas, and I just want to tell you that traffic studies everywhere that I've been, all over this state of Colorado, do not take place until a preliminary plat has been done and the property has transferred. That's just, I've not known of any other time for that to happen. So it would be unusual for me to see that. I'm understanding that a preliminary plat can be revised, and that would be an option, I think, that would be positive in the sense that it would give the go-ahead to get started with that traffic study, and it would speed things up for all involved. The end.
Any other comments? Chair.
Well, I was just going to say, what I know now, I'm not quite as worried about the pass-through traffic, but it does seem like every stone may not have been overturned yet. So I'm a little bit concerned about approving this the way it is.
Philip, we can't quite hear you out here.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Okay. Much better, yes.
Yeah, I said I'm not quite as worried about pass-through traffic as I was initially. It seems like most of it will go on Roy Warren, but it also seems like there may be other options that haven't been fully overturned. So I have mixed feelings on whether or not to approve this right now.
Well, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and chime in then. Planning and zoning, you know, there's ordinances, there's drawings, there's everything else. And I guess sometimes you think it's all a matter of black and white. But hearing this outpouring tonight, it's become very evident it's not all black and white. I hate to see this go to a yes or no. There's got to be a resolution out there somewhere. So thank you all for your time. Appreciate hearing everybody's input.
Any other comments? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion to approve, deny, approve or deny?
Or pass.
Approve or deny.
You have the right to pass.
Yes, sir?
Yes, on a plat's a little different than passing. You either accept it or reject it. If you do nothing with it, or you pass it or table it, you can't change the plat. That plat is what it is. So you either approve it or deny it. We get plats all the time that never even make it to you guys because we deny them for certain reasons. You only have so many days to act on a plat, 30 days. So if you're going that direction, I would recommend you deny the plat. You don't want to table it because time's going to run out in another 30 days. You're going to bring, and all I can bring you back is the same thing. I can't bring you new. So you deny this plat, and then you can come back and do it. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Just to clarify, denying it tonight will have the effect of delaying it until next month or whenever they submit it.
If you deny it tonight, that plat is dead in essence, unless they want to appeal it. It's dead. In which case they would have to present a new plat and bring it back, and we'd go through the same procedure. Tabling it is only going to bring that same. That's all I can bring you back. I can't bring you a new one. So, does that make sense?
I need a motion, one way or the other, please.
I'll make a motion that we not approve the plat at this point.
We have a motion to deny.
I'll second.
We have a second. A motion for Mr. Glover and a second for Mr. Evans. All those in favor of denying the plat, please raise your hand. Okay, that brings us to updates.
I do have a couple. I would like some of y'all to listen because I've been asking about it before. We have taken the zoning map down from the webpage and we're working on getting that. We actually got it back. I thought we were good to go, but it had a lot of mistakes in it. So hopefully really soon we'll have an up-to-date, correct map on the website. And then Latour is started the process of rewriting a whole zoning ordinance. This Planning and Zoning Commission will be that committee, and my plan is probably start first of the year is that we'll have workshops. We'll start before the actual meeting, kind of like council, and go through 30 minutes or so, get your input, things you want to see and not. And it's going to take a while, but we'll get a new, and we need to. We'll get a new zoning ordinance written up, and that zoning map. Hopefully we can have it up within the month, but up to date. I just wanted to know, I knew some people were worried about it. I just wanted to have that on
The meeting is not ready.
Right, but so
Thank you, Chris. So the chair would entertain